Welcome. We're very excited about this webinar to kind of showcase our Bolt AI assistants. I have with me here today. Well, first of all, I'm Ardis Kadiu. I'm the founder and CEO of Element 451. I have with me here today Petar. He's our CTO. Hey, Petar.
Everyone. Hi.
And Eric. Eric is the VP of Product.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you again.
All right. So one of the things that, if you're not familiar with Element, like our problem that we've been trying to solve ever since our inception has been providing a personalized student-centric journey from admissions all the way to graduation. And it's even more relevant today on how we do that and how our students are more digitally savvy and the recruitment life cycle has completely changed and having to re-recruit students. It's even more important today that Element has become a hub of all of those interactions, all the communications, and how you engage with those students throughout all these different life cycles. Those students today are really very digitally savvy and they expect convenient, fast, personal experiences. And they expect them 24/7, right? They expect them 24/7, technology mediated through their devices. They want those answers really, really quickly. They want to engage with you quickly through different mobile channels, email, text, SMS, WhatsApp, all those different channels. And then on the university side, what we've seen and kind of the problems that we talk a lot about are around this talent gap the universities are facing, right? There's this brain drain that's happening, and it's been happening now for a number of years. And as those folks leave, there's a gap that's being left in a lot of our teams. And as we talk to different institutions, that you just can't deliver. You're short staffed, you can't deliver on those targets. And now you have a consumer, a student that's expecting really high engagement and experiences that are consumer-like because their brands are doing that. And then you have team members and staff universities and institutions that can't deliver on that promise or that experience. So now we're kind of moving further apart. And what we believe in is that AI is a great equalizer here and can help tremendously bridge that gap between the student experience and the staff productivity and boost and help in a lot of those and amplify both of those areas. This is Sal Khan, founder of Khan Academy, and is saying that AI has the potential to revolutionize education, making it more personalized, engaging, and effective. And that's not just on the teaching and learning part, but it's also relevant in the experience, the student experience that we're providing, the consumer experience, how we're interacting with them, information that we're getting, and everything else. And then on the productivity side, right? So AI has been tremendous over the past year or so to kind of give us that productivity boost that we've been asking for. When you look at it from the experience, AI chatbots have been kind of a core part and being that first line of defense, providing hyper-personalized marketing. That's what we do, and the ability to put chatbots together, and then the proactive outreach, helping kind of get those communications or proactively outreaching to students. So that's on the experience side where AI can be a great facilitator. And then on the content generation side, or productivity, content generation, helping with content generation, knowledge discovery. How do you find information? And how do you find information across the institution that's relevant, and looking and working with data around actionable insights. So all of those different areas are areas where AI can be very, very powerful. And what we've seen, one of the tools that has perhaps contributed to most of our basically our productivity and through AI has been ChatGPT, right? So a year and a half ago, we were all introduced to ChatGPT, one of the fastest consumer products growing out there, and we've fallen in love with it, right? We've used it, we've kind of adopted it to our everyday work. I don't think there is anybody right now who doesn't know what it is, even though they might have just used it for a few things. But before then, the state of chatbots and the state of what we are interacting with was pretty grim, right? Like we didn't really have that ability to interact with them, just like with ChatGPT. So we had bots that were, didn't really understand more complex questions. They didn't have any skills. They didn't know. It was basically like, a link tree, or it was a tree of information. Pick this or that. So pretty stupid bots, right? And then even some of the ones that were a little bit more friendly, they still didn't have that empathy, right? Or they still kind of fell short. They tried to be empathetic, but they really fell short in terms of the understanding and the reasoning around that. And this made us feel really bad, because now, when we talk about the ability to interact with technology through these chatbots, we still have that in mind from back in the day, right? We still think about like the PTSD of working with one of these chatbots, and we don't feel very good. So as you think about how we are interacting with technology now, we have this perception that we project onto those chatbots and that technology, and we think about it in these two different ways, right? We have the same perception that we project into other humans, right? Very quickly, we know we need to understand what's their intention towards us. If somebody's coming, if you meet a new person, and then are they friendly, likable, trustworthy, honest, sincere, and then how likely are they to carry out that intention, right? Are they capable? Are they intelligent? Are they skilled? So we want to be up in that admiration stage up there on the top right. And when we look at those prior bots, they really fall short of that. The pre-2018 bots, there's just this contempt. It's like they just don't do what we want them to do. They don't understand much. And then BC, what we call before ChatGPT, bots are really, we take pity on them because they try really hard, but they're not really able to give us what we want, right? It wasn't really until ChatGPT came around, which is a chatbot, right, built on top of a large language model, that we're able to get those really, really great answers, and we admire it because it's friendly, it's able to converse with us in that human form. So because it's based on this large language models, it has this capability, it has natural language, and it has a reasoning engine behind it. So this way of communicating in natural language and having a large enough brain or reasoning engine behind it, it's what makes ChatGPT possible to have those abilities. And since then, every sector and every tech company is moving towards a way where they can provide an interface to talk to their software in a very natural way and have the ability to have these large language models, this reasoning engines behind them. And our AI journey started back when we got early access to OpenAI's their frontier models into 2013 or even 2022, and we started building our kind of iterations in there. So since then, we've been releasing our Boltbot and so on and so forth. But I wanted to show you this path around our AI journey in here. And when you think about it, we started with just a brain. We had this available to us. We're going to go through just a very quick introduction of how we think about the new AI stack, right? What we're building towards. So right away, we started building stuff with these LLMs and frontier models. And what we built is some of the writing tools, because they were great at that one shot. We sent something and they were able to improve the tone, make something shorter, make something longer. We incorporated that into an element very, very early last year. By March, April, we had stuff out there a year ago that we included in Element as part of that. But then we went a step further. We introduced a knowledge layer. What happens if you have a knowledge layer in a database, and now the content is your content? So you constrain the answers to your content, and you have some kind of memory, right? So you have knowledge and memory, and you have a brain. So now you can go back and forth with the user and have a conversation. And that's what we started to build our conversational chatbot called Boltbot. So Boltbot was the first AI chatbot for higher education built on OpenAI's frontier models, and perhaps, in a lot of different cases, was one of the first ones that was built on LLMs overall that we released last year. And when you think about it, it had knowledge around your university sites, institutional info. It brought in the user's profile and the history. So it had all knowledge about all these different things, all that stuff that we connected very closely to our system. But then again, and it became really smart, powerful. It was fast, it was secure, capable. It still is, right? A lot of schools are still using that. And we've seen some success stories around it, and we have a lot more, but just reducing inbound calls, having 80% resolution, kind of conversation resolutions, reducing the amount of time that it needs, saving more than two people's worth of time as part of answering these questions. So within just 3 months, and we have a lot of these stories coming up over and over again from our partners. Now, we did is we now said, okay, you know what? We want to add some capabilities and some skills. So we want to add some tools to this memory. So we have a reasoning engine, we have a database, and now we add some tools. Once we do that, then we started to build, kind of these AI tools, or essentially built in our stack. We built Copilot. So Copilot was able to write content, to build marketing campaigns. So it was able to do a lot of things, and it was able to generate and edit content, draft personalized replies. Again, build a whole campaign, landing pages, do knowledge search. So Bolt Copilot was from the administrative side, now a Copilot that you can talk to and chat with. And we introduced a whole new interface to Element. So now it's AI or conversational first interface with Copilot as your administrator starting to work with an Element. But we weren't done yet, right? So we're like, okay, how do we go? What's next? We want to have the ability to not just have one bot, one Bolt bot, but we want to have the ability to have different types of bots for different use cases, because they're in different contexts and they might have different personalities. So that's what we introduced. We said we're going to add personality, and they can work together by giving them goals. So by doing that, now we have a fourth layer, which is the orchestration layer. And now every bot, both Copilot, BoltBot, and different versions of those, all sit in the same kind of layer on top of it. And we call those now, the next iteration, Bolt AI assistants. So there are your ultimate teammate in education. And this gives you a kind of a view of how we think about it in terms of the structure. You have Element down below, where you're seeing the student engagement platform with all the functionality. We have our brain over here with the large frontier models. And Element uses different models depending on the different use cases. So we have now kind of moved away from just using the OpenAI, because there's a lot of really good models out there. For example, some of the Anthropic models, they're really good for the writing component. They write a little bit better. So we use some of those for our copilots. And then the knowledge layer that we've added, we've kind of extended it over time. So we've added things like programs and catalogs in there. So relational data, we started adding YouTube videos to it now. So we're adding financial aid, so documents. We didn't have that before. We can now scrape whole websites. So all of that knowledge base is all in there. And then the skills, so adding all those different skills that AI can do. And now we have the top layer, which sits on top of everything, calling them our AI assistants, or the orchestration layer. So you can have an admissions counselor bot or AI assistant. You can have financial aid advisor, academic advisor. You can have data management, and they can all work around teams. You notice something, discovery assistant or Bolt Discovery. We're going to touch base on that 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now on the 22nd. So that's a TBD another webinar, and that's another innovation that we're really excited about. But we're going to leave that for later. But now you have, for students, you have a whole personal support squad. Think about this as a whole team: academic advisor, career coach, all of these different folks interacting with the student. And then you also have, for staff, like for internal folks, you have a design assistant, you have a campaign assistant, so you have marketing advisor, copywriter in Element. And these aren't just the ones that we're delivering right now. We're going to be building on top of this infrastructure a lot more specific assistants that can work together and work together on these teams as we enter more and more use cases. So that's kind of how we believe we're going to deliver this work. So now you have an AI admissions team, you have an AI student support team, right? You have an AI marketing team, and you have an AI data analyst team. So all of these different teams working together can now get to a place where we truly believe we can have virtual assistants that can be amplifying your work or your staff's work, the work that you're doing every day. And enough of me talking. I think you're coming here to kind of see some of this stuff. So let's see it in action. So Petar will go over this and get into the product itself.
Yep. Thank you, Ardis. So we will cover a couple of real examples today. We will cover student assistants, but both staff assistants as well. But first and foremost, I want to introduce where this will live going forward. So now in engagement, you will see a new section. Let me just move the Zoom thing out of the way. You will see bold assistant sections. So inside, this will drive you to a place where you will actually go and be able to configure all your assistants in your teams. So let me just refresh that. So we made some changes. So here we have our assistants and we have our teams. I will show you here. You can take a look at the different assistants are different types. So that's the part that Ardis was mentioning, where these assistants are of different roles. So you can see them here. Those roles together with them bring a couple of interesting things. So the assistant now, it's before, you remember, for people who actually used Bullbot was kind of like a generalist. It did kind of like everything at once. But you sometimes wanted a certain journey flows or the kind of like student experience to be more guided, especially in a setting where you're talking to current students and their academic progression or career advice. So these types here actually encompass the kind of rules of behavior and how you should interact with students. By default, when you're adding it kind of like tells you what kind of like element skills it should use and how to connect to the platform. But it's up to you. You can decide how to configure this properly. Below, I just want to take a look at one of the actual examples here. So you can see that you can add an avatar, you can add some description and greeting that will actually greet the student when they're talking to it. And a really important part below here is that you can actually kind of control the behavior by limiting access to only specific resources. This is really useful if you have scenarios where, for example, you might have domestic international students and you might want to separate the knowledge bases, or you might have two campuses wanting to use different assistants for them. Also, every assistant comes with conversation starters that kind of can guide the conversation. So you will build all these assistants, and now what? You have 20 of them. How do you actually put them on a certain place where they actually help students? That's where we devise teams. So in here, you can add a team. Team is just a set of certain assistants. You add them there, and you actually select on which places they will be live. So you can use a specific page. Also, we will add support for multi-channel, so you will be able to put email or SMS channel and run them on that channel specifically. So enough back of this, and in the back scenes, let's actually go to what students will experience. So we actually built a landing page here where we can demonstrate that, but this will also run on your pages. Here's an example admissions page. If we go to the admissions page, the one-sec live chat appears here. And now when the student comes in, when they start a conversation, they will actually have a choice of 4 options here. So they will be able to pick to which assistant they want to talk to. So let's try to mimic kind of like a real life scenario of a student coming in, and this is a prospective student. They're a high school senior and they would like to come and they'll possibly live on campus, but they're still not sure, is this the actual, like the good choice for them? So they will probably get to maybe a peer advisor. There's a student living on campus, so they might want to ask, hey, what's the experience living there? So we're like, hey, what's like living on campus? The assistant would answer, will say, okay, I would like to know more. It lists us all this information, and we might now want to know, possibly the student might want to know, like, hey, I would like to come and take a look in person. Yes. I would like to. So as you know before, the assistants that we already have, they have connection to the CRM. So they're able to read, if you have events in Element, they're actually able to read through that. In this case, it's able to find an open house, and we can proceed. Hey, yes, I like that. Let's proceed. And the assistant will go and take care and basically prepare an event registration for the student. So if we go there, that will open an event page and basically pre-select the date and then switch it into complete. So let's say this happened, a couple of days passed, student comes back, he goes to the open house, really likes what it sees and like, hey, open house was amazing. And student now wants to apply. Let's just wait for it to finish. But the peer advisor as an assistant, that's not kind of like its forte, right? It's not actually what it's intended to do. But because they are working in a team and they know about each other, so they can hand off certain jobs to different types of assistants that are better suited. In this case, we offload to admission assistant. And the admission assistant is kind of like the expert of handling the admission process, giving all information, and also starting the applications for the student. In this case, he went in and listed the potential applications that are available. We'll say, okay, we would like the undergraduate application.
Yep. That's a specific skill that is available in there. Application starting and checking. Yep.
So in this case, we need to provide an email. And it will go through the flow and start basically preparing an application for us where we can actually register. And here's the link. And we can go there. And here it is. And it actually basically prepared everything. I have taken the email and put it inside of the locker. So let's say application has started, certain time has passed. In the meantime, the student might need some financial aid help and his mother might come in. And just give me one moment. Just need to copy one thing. So a student's mom comes in and she only talks Spanish. So she'll say hello. Oh, sorry, I copied the wrong thing. Oh, we can try again. In this case, what's interesting is you can see that the assistant, what happened, detected that, hey, I'm the admission assistant. I'm not the expert of financial stuff, but there's in my team a financial aid assistant. He's the expert of answering financial aid questions. It delegates that to the financial aid assistant. And now the conversation has switched. So give me one moment. I want to ask it in Spanish.
So while you're doing that, Petar, I mean, you can see how these assistants interact the same way that we working on a campus would interact with each other, right? You have your, admissions, student workers or your tour guides, student ambassadors, whatever you call them, talking to students, passing off to an admissions counselor, passing off to a financial aid counselor. And they all have sort of their own roles and their own personas and their own areas of expertise. And that's what assistance replicates for students in sort of this chat interface.
Correct. And so you might have even be thinking now that maybe all this handoff and giving, basically switching the student from one assistant to another might realize you have a bad experience. But these assistants, because they're tailored for these specific roles, they will actually provide like really good performance on these types of tasks. But also, if a student doesn't want to wait and basically be handoffed from one to another, they have full control of this conversation. So they can change their assistant they want to talk to basically mid-flight. They can do that either by changing here or actually doing an @ sign, and they get this drop down where they can pick to who they want to talk to. Or if they're not sure, they can just say, hey, I'm not sure, and then be put in touch with the proper person. So this was an example of a prospect trying to apply, getting to know the campus and everything. Let's try a different type of example. So we have here, let's just go to the assistant side. I just want to showcase that we have a team, different teams, sports team, alumni team. Let's talk to the academic team. So we are a current student and we need let's say we are potential student and we want to know more about career options. So there's a page here. Here's a program page. on this, we have a different team working here. So you can take a look that the options are different now. So we have a career advisor, an admission advisor, and an academic advisor. So let's go to the academic advisor. Be like, okay, I am not sure what I want to study. Let's say I'm not sure actually what they like. What's an example? So let's say, okay, can you give me an example? I'm actually not sure how to actually proceed this conversation. So let's see if it can guide me through it.
Hey, Petar, can you do another Zoom on this one?
Of course. And okay, well, I actually grew up on a chicken farm. And I know a lot about chickens.
And you can see the warmth and the empathy, right? That the assistant is giving as it guides the student through this exploration process.
Petar, I thought we're talking about technology here in AI. Like, what do we have to do with chickens?
It's still a science. So
It's still a science.
So poultry science, as a matter of fact.
Again, just to clarify for people that might know where this comes from, there's a knowledge base. People that might later, where actually you can put all your programs, all your information. So it's actually just searching through the knowledge base, trying to find different programs that will match this type of inquiry. So in this case, yeah, there's a poultry science program, and that's great. And okay, are there any prerequisites? I did a pre-kex, but I think it will understand. We actually, since this type of behavior for some of the universities might be new, in a sense that they didn't know that Ballbot can do this. For a while, we have actually started to test the academic exploration, and what we did. We actually loaded catalogs from a couple of universities and loaded them entirely in the knowledge base. We are talking 5,000 to 10,000 pages, and tested this flow, and then it worked really, really well for like 99% of questions that were being asked. So if the data is in the knowledge base, the assistants will be able to answer that question. So
yeah, that's a good point. We've been testing that for a couple of months now, starting to think about how do we bring in catalog information, which has prerequisites, co-requisites, it has professors or people, it has different courses around the program. So if we have that information in somewhat of a structured way around the catalog, we can bring that all in and it can kind of tie all those pieces together.
Yep. And you can see in this case, right, we were asking about the program. So actually we came a different way, right? We have our kind of what we are good at. We got a program, but now we are following that relationship. So, okay, what is the prerequisite course? Can you tell me more? And you see, it's able to find that and extract information that's actually specified in the knowledge base. Okay, I'm good, but I need some career advice. So this program is all good, right? But I need to know, like, what are my options, right? When I actually finish this, what can I start? How much money can I earn? And in this case, the academic advisor works in tandem with a career advisor, and career advisor takes over and says, okay, what you're interested in. And well, I want to know potential jobs I can do after this. And of course, gives us you can be a farm manager, veterinarian, nutritionist. Okay, this is good, but can I possibly schedule an advising session? We're talking to AI, but I would prefer to actually about my career, talk to a human in the end.
A couple of questions. One of the questions that came up was around, well, if you have the program, you'll find it, but what happens if you don't? Will it make recommendations, or how does he handle when it doesn't know something? That's actually a great question, and we find it that it actually handles those questions even better than humans, because you will go back and you'll say, hey, we don't have that. I searched for it, but I found something that might be related or similar, and let's explore that. So that's kind of the type of responses, and we can, if we have a little bit more time towards the end, we can kind of ask some of those questions.
Yes. And you can see now what happened is that we actually went in and we scheduled an advising session with this with an actual human actually, and it uses our appointments module that hooks in. Of course, if you don't use appointments in Element, you can just disable that skill and potentially like just put like your Calendly links in the knowledge base, and it will just work through that as well. It will not be able to reconcile time, but we'll be able at least to offer the link to the student.
Yeah. And this is the benefit of having all those pieces together, right? So when we talk about skills, these are the skills, right? It's able to book an appointment for you. It's able to start an application for you. It's able to look at your checklist for you. It's able to do kind of this program exploration for you. So there's a lot of those pieces in terms of the ability. Yeah, exactly. So Petar is showing those skills that they have access to.
Yeah,
right.
And this is all about curation, right? Making these folks really specialized, these Bolt assistants very specialized. So the advising assistant can share the advising appointments, but they're not necessarily, sharing football tryouts or something else, right? So it gives the students a really tailored experience and expertise that you may not be able to get as readily with a general purpose chatbot.
So what you're seeing here is that traditionally you buy a chatbot, you have one Q&A. Now you can build hundreds of different, well, we don't call them chatbots anymore, but hundreds of different assistants that you can put into teams, individual teams, just one, however many, and you can put them into different contexts wherever you need in your website. So the whole campus operates out of the one centralized knowledge base and management. So it becomes a true platform for delivering AI assistance rather than just having one assistant. Now you can have hundreds of them that can be scoped to different types of tasks and work.
Correct. So here I would like to demonstrate one more example of a student assistant. This is kind of like a more fun example. So let's imagine that we have a baseball team, and a student might come in and want to know the results of a baseball team. So there might be a page where you will have your it might be your athletics page or baseball team page, and let's come here and see. Here we have a different team deployed. We can see that there's an athletics advisor, but also an admission advisor, because some students might want to apply based on the sports that are offered. So in this case, say, let's talk to Coach Carter and let's ask them, hey, how did our baseball team play last month?
You want to zoom in while Coach Carter's answering there, Petar? Thanks.
How many times?
We need an AI assistant to tell us when to zoom in our browsers.
I should put a sticky note on my computer. And again, this comes from the knowledge base. That can be your website, file, text. It read everything. Right. We win some, lose some. That's okay. And what we might want to do now, let's say, hey, well, I am interested in joining sports team. What do you have? And now this is really interesting use case, right? So what it does, it actually can go into the knowledge base. So read your knowledge base. So you have like information about potential tryouts or anything, but also hooks again to the system. And in this case, we actually have an event we built that's a football team tryouts. And hey, yes, I would love that. And it'll go through the same process that we already saw, where it goes and actually basically prepares a registration link for the event for the student. And basically that's it. So those are our student assistants. Those are the 3 demos I'll show today. But we can go indefinitely, because if you take a look here, the number of permutations we can make are really huge. We have different types for alumni use case, financial aid. Also for admission, there's one extra functionality that we added, and we probably will extend that as well, is for admissions, we actually built subtypes. So you actually have like undergraduate or a domestic type of admission assistant that will kind of be more tailored for that use case. So that our plan is here to add more and to refine them. So we will send like announcements as we add more and more use cases. But what I will now like to do, let's switch to the staff assistants. So for staff assistants, you will now ask like, okay, what are they? Well, actually, you have been using them probably for a while. Ardis already showed we have our Bolt Copilot, and we kind of like rebranded it, but also we compartmentalized functionality inside of the Copilot. So now when you open, you will see actually to which assistant you're talking to right now. We have a general assistant that's basically kind of like a he knows everything, he can do everything, but he's not like a expert in one thing. And yet you kind of like saw that even before with our campaign assistant that you can use to build marketing campaigns, or a writer that you can use to write things better. So let's start with, again, a couple of real flows. Let me just pull it out. One of the things that probably you will do every day when you get into Element will be, okay, let's see what I have on my plate today. And you can just ask, okay, what's up for me today, or catch me up, and the assistant, what it does, takes a look at what you have currently and extracts that information. In this case, there's nothing specific on myself in the next 2 days. There's one conversation that I have an activity, which is fine. But let me take a look. I might have some tasks, or do I have, what are those? Do I have any tasks after those 2 days? So in this case, it went differently, right? This is a kind of like a different functionality inside of the assistant. It actually can go and read specifically all the tasks that I have on myself, and there are two. I have checked dietary restrictions on 2 students actually. And what's really interesting is how the staff assistants actually integrate and basically will offer you certain actions inside. So in this case, we can open a task mode, and it says, okay, check dietary restrictions, and we can actually jump to the profile of the student. We see it's Gail. And we can take a look. Is there any data here? We can actually, there's for example, a custom field in which we might have dietary restrictions. There's nothing. We don't have anything entered for the student. So let's summarize the student here, just to see if maybe it'll surface some interesting information for us. Some interesting information that you can potentially look into here would be like, hey, does the student actually engage with us? In which stage they are? Are they clicking on SMS, on email? So in this case, okay, is the student active? They have an email. She logged into the system. Okay, that's interesting. So we probably should reach out and send an email. Let's send an email to the student to check their dietary restrictions. And the general assistant is also able to basically draft messages and hooks directly into conversation module, so it's able to send one-on-one SMS or email, depending what you have on file for the contact. In this case, he drafted us a nice little email. We can give it feedback. In this case, let's say, okay, this is good. Let's send it. We are fine with that. And it actually sends the email. If we go to conversations, you can actually see it here that it was actually sent out. So proceeding from here, imagine now student came back, sent us an email, responded. We got some information. Let's mark this task as complete. Let's go to the student quickly. Let's just fill the information. As an example, where's the dietary part? Here they are. Say peanut allergy. It's down. And so now imagine that some time passes, you come back. Let's shut the task mode as well. You come back to the student, and you might want to find that information. As you saw in the custom fields view, there's a lot of them. And we know schools that might use hundreds or thousands of custom fields, and might be harder to search. But with AI and help, we can say, okay, can you tell me does this student have any dietary restrictions? So another feature that assistants have, and this is something that's overlooked, is that they can actually read the specific data points. So any type of field you have on the contact, you're able to actually ask a question. So you see in this case, no data restrictions, but there's an allergy to peanuts because that's what we entered. And this can be, you can ask about any field, that being address, that being citizenship information, t-shirt size. In this case, I have a
Hey-
couple of Ardis, go ahead.
No, I was gonna. So requiring one field in order to find it, it's really important, and then you can kind of continue the conversation. But also, you can do multiple, kind of multiple fields as well. I believe that's available. Is that correct, Petar?
Yes, it is. So it can do things in parallel. So we can ask multiple questions. A couple of things for me. First one, I want to check, for example, is there a FAFSA file? So imagine you're importing that from a different system. We can ask, for example, is this the first generation student? We can ask,
when was the last time they did something, or housing deposit? That's a good one. Okay.
So let's ask these three. So you can see,
and that might be a call to 3 different offices depending on where you work, right? So
correct. But the important thing here is that here's information. Okay, I probably selected a bad user. I'll find a different one. Yeah, I'm on Petar. I'm on a different user. But again, you see what's interesting? This was working on it understands the context where we are on the page. Let's go here and say, you check this now for Gail.
The whole conversation is part of the context. So you're not switching, you're switching the context in terms of where you are, and it's kind of connected. It understands where you are in the CRM, it understands everything about it, but the conversation stays the same as if you were kind of swapping files back and forth.
Correct. And you can see now we got a different answer based on the custom fields that are on here. So again, this might not be the best practice to always like switch multiple contexts in a single chat, because you can confuse the AI. You probably saw that in ChatGPT as well. So far, the cases that we were working with, we saw that it has really, really good performance. But for like best results, sometimes when it gets too longer, just open a new conversation, just start there. Might be easier. But what I wanted to illustrate here that's really important is how you can now give tasks and kind of like make this assistant work together with you. It's not just, hey, just send me an email and you're done. Well, you can ask it to do things. Hey, fetch me this, then do something else. And you can be specific. You can, if sometimes even it doesn't understand, you can say, hey, search for this custom field on the contact. And basically we'll go in and search for that custom field for you.
Yep.
In this case, we don't want it. So let's proceed with our demo. I want to show one more feature that's really, really interesting. So same as we understand the context here, the context of the student, we are slowly adding more and more pages basically, and more entities. So in this case, what we have is actually tasks. So there's one more data restrictions example, and Copilot actually understands what's going on here as well. So what we can do is, let's start a new one, just to be clear. Hey, what is this task about? So this is just an illustration, but now imagine what you can do. You can dynamically create tasks that are certain like steps that you need to make, that being sending email, checking certain data field, and send an email based on that to be personalized. You can actually write all those things in the description, and you can tell the assistant, hey, complete this. So let's say, hey, can you help me do this task? And what it will do now, it will analyze the task requirements And based on the task requirements, it can offer proactive steps that you should take. So this is really interesting because, again, this is a simple flow, but you can create really, really complex use cases here. You can add like a lot of like send 3 emails and build me a campaign, and you can orchestrate everything through tasks module. In this case, we just need to send an email. So it like said, hey, I can compose an email and you will approve, and I will send an email. And yeah, let's do that. But we actually kind of like already demonstrated this use case where we, in the first example where we actually sent a data restrictions email to Gail.
Once that task gets completed, once that email goes through, we will check off the task automatically for you as completed as well.
Correct. So it can either do that, or it can also, you can tell it to complete. So it's,
yep. All right.
Okay. So that's it on the task side. Let's go with another use case. This is, we want to showcase the building a marketing campaign. And we kind of like saw that probably everybody who worked with our campaign copilot before, which is now a campaign assistant, you've been building emails, but we did major enhancements to it. And I would like to show and then explain some of them. Of course, you don't need to, if you are in the wrong assistant, these assistants work in teams, so they will hand off to each other, but you can also select a different assistant and you say, hey, I would like to build a campaign. And you can also imagine that this list of available assistants will grow. So we will be adding more and more kind of like experts of their domain to the system. One of them, for example, can be like a researcher or something like that. So in this case, because when we need to build a campaign, it needs to know like what we are doing, why are we doing it, what was the high level goal. So let's, for example, we want to promote a new data science program and to raise awareness. So hey, let's promote a new data science program. We want to raise awareness. We will target high school seniors. Let's send 3 communications, only email. And what you can also do that's really interesting, you can basically, if you have some information lying out elsewhere, it's not in an element, you can actually go. I have here like a brief history of data science. I'll just copy all of that. So I'll just copy all of that here. And let's put that inside. So let me just, where was it? Here. Here is some relevant information you can use. See what will happen.
You could also tell it to search the knowledge base if this information was available, but you can mix and match. You can do both. You can tell it to search the knowledge base and provide it additional context because, maybe as a new program, it's not all loaded yet.
Correct. And maybe as a nice example, let me open a new tab and we will in parallel build another campaign. We'll say, hey, search knowledge base for all alumni information. While that works, we can come back. So this is writing, it brought us the outline. This is kind of like what it plans to do. It will build through the 3 communications and kind of like explains what's really nice, the high level goal of each of the campaigns. Also writes kind of like what it will use for the subject, for the intro, for the body, for the closing, CTA, etc. Here, it's also searching the alumni. We have that in the knowledge base. It's crafting basically analyzing the whole knowledge base for all the alumni information. I will now lay us out some relevant information. Let's come back here. Let's say, okay.
Wow, Petar, this is like, you should have Petar on your team because he can do I think the title of this webinar was a team of 5 make like 50. I think it's going to like 100, right? One person, because you're going in parallel and creating all these things. 5,000. Thanks, Mallory. Sorry, Petar.
We'll just change.
This is incredible.
Yeah, we just change one thing that to allow you here to type into. So otherwise, you will be able to build 2 campaigns at the same time. But we will build them by the end of this. We'll have 2 campaigns with like 3-4 emails both. I want to show, basically the idea is we want to show that you can actually like paste relevant information. You can also search the knowledge base to extract information, and you can basically tell the assistants, hey, you do this, you do that, and you can like orchestrate them. So if you think about it, instead of you now become a manager, kind of like you have your team of employees that you manage, and you tell them, hey, this is how you will do a certain task in this order. So coming back here for the campaign creation, just to explain some things that are interesting happening under the hood. And takes around 1 minute to build an email, but the good thing is we build them all in parallel. Why it takes so long? Because there's actually multiple assistants under the hood that actually are working. There's a writer that will actually write the email. There's a photographer that will search the media manager library to find good images to use for the emails. And there's like an art director that will go in and try to find the best image to be used for every email from the things that photographers selected. So in this case, it finished. We got a workflow that sequences 3 emails. Let's take a look how the emails look like. So here's one of the examples, and you can see the email. It's branded to the orange because it's Fire University, so it's orange. It knows like some information that we put in. These are like from your content tokens that you included. Also uses the relevant information. You see the 1960s. That's actually what we put for to use as like seed information. And also uses the element personalization inside by default. And you see the image, it's actually something related to data science because we're promoting a data science program. And let's say take a look just at the other two. Let's see what we got a different image. Again, some different text. And in the end, it highlights the element Q data science program. So this functionality of searching images, you can actually tell it to search for images for you. Hey, I'm also planning to do a charity sports event, probably a marathon. Would you recommend some media I can use to promote it?
So this is actually really interesting, right? Because we have our media manager where all of your images are stored inside of Element. And what we've actually done, and Petar will pull it up, is actually gone through with a vision process and added AI generated descriptions to all of those images. So now that's what empowers the art director assistant or the image search assistant to come in and find the relevant images, that it's a kid in a lab coat as opposed to a kid on a baseball field, right?
Yep.
All right. Petar, I know we can be going all day in terms of providing some of this content.
There's one thing I would like to demonstrate as well, or just this is a question a lot of people have asked us so far is, well, all this writing, right? It's kind of like, how do I ensure it's actually on my brand? And then kind of make it be that it's not just like, I know, GPT generating random content. How can I tell it, hey, this is how we write at this university? So we actually introduced a feature for that, and that actually is already in there and already powers. Why I want to show it, because people might not be aware that this exists. So on the branding section, where you're putting your branding, you actually have below the brand writing style. And you can basically specify how the writers inside of Element should work. If you don't know how to enter these, don't worry. You can actually just come in and infer from a sample. So for example, what I did for this, I went into our blog. I just copied one of the articles. For example, let's do the assistants. And you can just copy paste this text and put it inside. And what it will do, it will analyze it and it will extract all these characteristics for you. So you're quick to start using this. And you can fine tune this later if you want to. That's it.
Well, that was a full hour if I've ever seen one. That was great.
We only have time for maybe 2 questions. I know that we wanted to show you as much as possible. We're really excited about all the functionality. Some of the functionality that Petar has shown you today is available as part of the Copilot preview that you're already using in Element. However, the assistants are under a feature flag as we're developing them, and we're going to showcase, and we're going to kind of roll them out over the next few weeks to make available. Of course, we're as part of our Engage conference, we wanted to we're going to talk a lot more about them in there and probably introduce more capabilities. But we'll be working with you with current partners to kind of on the preview side on making sure that we have the right responses and making sure that the use cases are all covered. All right. Do we have any, when will the branding be available? I believe the branding is available right now. So if you go under your settings in Element, the branding is available in there. Any other questions? I think we've been using, I use Copilot, would prefer to use hello instead of hey. So the branding part is around the writing of content. We're inserting that as part of the writing of content. At some point in the future, we're going to have the ability to have personalized kind of writing styles and settings, how you interact with the AI assistants. Very similar how you set up your student assistants or your externally facing assistants. We're going to have the same thing, so you can kind of manage that on your own at the individual user level. Right now, it's being at the institution level with the writing style for that. So you can't change the assistant and how it responds to you, but you can, when he writes, you will use that writing style. All right. What does everybody think? I think like I said, we're really excited. Let me share my screen really quick. We're really excited about this, and we feel like it's the only AI team you need for higher education. Now you can build as many AIs as you need, focusing both on the student experience. Before you leave, we do have another webinar, May 22nd at 2 p.m. We're going to be announcing, we're going to be showcasing and introducing our Bolt Discovery, which we believe is going to be the future of AI-powered information in your websites, and in how you go through information discovery and kind of basically get rid of your search bar completely from your website and just use that. So we're really, really excited to showcase that. So come back to that webinar over the next couple of weeks. We'll probably announce and put some stuff on socials and between then. But if you have any other questions, feel free to send them to us. We're really excited to, again, have this available, and appreciate everybody for being here today and taking your time.
And also a plug for the Engage Summit. If you haven't registered for Engage, come see us in Raleigh. We'll be diving deep into Bolt Discovery, Bolt Assistance, and all things AI in higher education at the end of June in Raleigh.
Absolutely. And that's just on the product track. So June 25th and 26th here in Raleigh. So register now. We're getting close to kind of reaching our capacity. So we want to make sure that you have a chance to come in. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.